Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our free webinar series. We start with the first webinar. We talk about color adjustment of photos, videos, and 3D rendering. With me, it is Robin Ochs. Hello, Robin. Nice to have
Hello,
you here.
Boris. Hi.
Robin is from Picture Instruments, and he is the one who is the founder, the CEO of Picture Instruments, and therefore he is the right one to show us MasterMatch, the newest software from Picture Instruments. And it will be interesting to see in combination with our Spider Checker Photo and other Spider Checker products. And yeah, at the end, we will have a little secret announcement. So we will have a webinar of about 1 hour. Afterwards, you will have the ability to enter all the questions you have. You can do it during the webinar as well. We will stop from time to time, and then we will answer all the questions you have after the webinar. So this will be about 1 hour of webinar, and afterwards up to, let's say, 30-40 minutes question and answer series. Okay, to give you a better performance due to the reason we have, at the end of the day, very often a lot of attendees have bandwidth problems. Therefore, I will collapse my camera, and Robin, you as well, and I will start right away. You will see it's Robin and me today. I'm Boris from Datacolor, responsible for training and support in our company. Okay, so we will have 3 webinars, as mentioned before. We will start today with neutral matching of camera colors and e-commerce for repro photography. And this webinar will be followed by the next one, where we have September 19th, which is next Tuesday, where we are talking about matching multiple photos and video cameras and including this with log footage. And the last one will be about tips and tricks when something is for Spider Checker or MasterMatch. What are the little secrets, and what can you do if something goes wrong? That's nothing, no problem. We would like to prepare this. So another information, all of you will have received a reminder email, and you will receive a follow-up email in a few days. This email will contain also the link for the recording. So it's not necessary that you write down anything. Okay, let's start. We are on the first webinar today on September 14th. So we have an agenda. We talk a little bit about calibrated workflow, and then how you illuminate and position the color reference cards. Afterwards, it will be Robin showing us the reference colors in MasterMatch software. The question is, if you have still images, what about raw JPEG? And using color corrections in Lightroom and Capture One, and applying the color corrections in video programs like Premiere, After Effects, and Final Cut Pro, for example. This is the agenda for today. So you see, we have a lot of things to go through. So therefore, I will do it in a very fast way. A few information about color management. Color management is, in general, something that is depending on the device always a little bit different. That means a camera works in RGB color space, but you have on top always the light situation on location. So you have a lot of things which can go not wrong, but can create different colors. Monitors are not identical. So panel types, the aging process, room light. Scanners, if for those who use scanners, have their own light source. And at the end of the day, if you're printing this, or even if you put this somewhere on social media, the output is always different. And a printer brings on top that it works on CMYK, and you have also the paper and the ink that has an impact on the color reproduction. Most of you will know this, and here I have a short documentation of the gamut of the different gamut, you see. And you see, for example, printers have the smallest gamut. If you look on matte paper, if you have a high-end inkjet paper and you use a kind of luster paper, sometimes you have a color space that can be at the size of Adobe RGB, but not the same shape. That's always important. Therefore, you can say RGB is not equal to RGB, and this is also not equal to CMYK. Okay, so we say what happens without color management, and this is something that is important because, for example, if you have a monitor that has a color cast, let's do it. You take your images, you take your video, and everything is okay. You did everything correct, and you have the data on your hard disk, neutral. But your monitor shows it with a greenish cast. Okay, what do? Because you do image editing or video editing, you correct the color cast. But this was not the cast in the image or in the video. It was the cast from the monitor. Therefore, the monitor looks okay now. And as you have added magenta to convert the greenish cast into neutral, you have now data that has a magenta color cast. And this will be, as a printout, for example, also, of course, a color cast in magenta. You can't do anything against. If your monitor is not calibrated and does not show correct colors, all your editing of video or imaging editing will be incorrect. Okay, we have, as I mentioned, the aging process. If you think about monitors, a lot of people say, okay, my monitor is not as old, but maybe 3 years old. But if you have a look to the invoice, if you find it, very often you find out, oh, that was 5, 6, 7 years ago. We are humans. We are not good in looking back when we have purchased things. And due to the reason we have an aging effect on the monitors, have a look if the monitor has a counter for the hours of usage. You will say, okay, this is something that is important. And you have a fading effect because the filters, the backlight will fade over the years. Okay, again, something important. And we have different display technologies, different monitor types, and that's also something that is important because if you work with somebody else together, or if you have more than one monitor in front of you, colors should look identical to you. And of course, to all the others. So that's the reason why color management is that important. Okay, at the end of the day, you can calibrate everything, every component. You can have a profile for the camera or a corrected camera. Then you have for the monitor a profile. Scanners can be calibrated. Datacolor does not have solutions here. And you have the output, and also the printer can be profiled. And this will give you, a tool which is the ICC profiles that allow you that the image are shown correct on your monitor, that the image in the printout is correct. That's important to know. Okay, we're today talk about input. That means camera, still, and also video. And our newest product is the Spider Checker Photo. You may know the Spider Checker family, but the Spider Checker Photo is a handy device. And let's have a look. You see there are 4 cards inside. That's important to know. And this black here is, the deepest black in reference card you will find on the market. Really helpful. Okay, let's have a look. We have ultra matte targets. That's important. We talk about the ability to match different camera systems, different input devices, to have at the end one color tone. for those who remember the good old analog times, you see, you could do everything correct, but using different film material created a little bit of color cast. Okay, good. Another point. If you want to see the details, it's also important that the colors are correct, because colors also define contrast by this. And for those who do food, of course, the food has to be also correct, balanced from the color in the food photography, and as well as on monochromatic motifs like this papillon, or also important, and therefore we have the skin tones in here, neutral skin tones. And this is very important because our human eyes, we are very good trained how to look if skin tones are correct or if they are incorrect. Okay, good. And then, of course, for all those who work with brand colors, it's important that these are correct, reproduced. And yeah, this all can be done when you start with your camera. You have your reference, and we are talking about still, and we are soon talking about video as well. And with Robin, we see how we can do it today with video as well as with still images. Robin with Mastermatch doesn't care about. That's the good thing. So what do we have? We have a compact device. It's robust. It's the Ultramat. That's extremely low reflectance. It's a high quality paper, sustainable. We have 64 colors, and we have a seamless integration into our applications, and it can be also perfectly used with Mastermatch from Picture Instruments, as you will see in a few minutes. Okay, Spider Checker photo, and we have used this images from Sascha Hüttenheim, and here is something I'd like to point out, because this is something you should not do. Please do not touch the color patches, one thing, and do not cover the color patches. But something, we are humans, something like this can happen. And this is the reason why I would like to point out for the last webinar on the 27th, where we will talk about what can you do if something like this has been happened during the shooting, and you will see it afterwards, and you have no chance to redo that shoot, but there will be solutions. Okay, what is important when you have a reference card like the Spider Checker, if it's the Spider Checker photo, or Spider Checker 24, attach it to a tripod, or put it on a stable surface. It should be a homogeneous illumination, and the light should come best from an angle of 45 degrees. We always say recommendation is to shoot in RAW, and afterwards you open the image in Adobe Camera Raw, Lightroom, Focus from Hasselblad, DaVinci Resolve, or a Mastermatch. Then you have your reference you can start from to make sure colors will be correct. Okay, that was it from my side. And what I will do now, I will hand over to Robin to give him the ability to share his screen with us. Robin, I promote you to be moderator now, so you can share your screen with us and show us the next steps in Mastermatch, please. Perfect.
Okay, seems you can see my screen?
Yes.
It's the screen with Mastermatch, correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah. Hello everyone again. My name is Robin from Picture Instruments. Yeah, and in this webinar I want to go to several steps. First I make some or give you some additional information about color charts and which topics you should pay attention if you shoot them. Then the second point is the functionality of Mastermatch. There are several functions to optimize your results. And even if you have not optimal images, you can do some tweaks to enhance them. After I guided you through MasterMatch and you understand how to make a color correction in MasterMatch, I show you how to apply it, apply the correction in Photoshop, in Lightroom, and in Capture One. And then I also show you how to apply the same correction in video, as an example in Premiere Pro. And if you want to save some money, maybe be patient until the end, and we have some nice gift for you. So stay tuned and let's start. Maybe first, Boris, can I share my camera again?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Is it big enough, or is it next to my screen share?
No, it's on top.
Okay, it's on top. Can I, if I stop the screen share, you see the full camera image?
No, that's not possible.
Okay, so maybe it's big enough. So I show these color checkers, the Spider Checker Photo, and also the Spider Checker 48. Oh, excuse me for the green tones, they are keyed. But if I move them a little bit, you see what means the highlights. If I put it a little bit to the direction of the light, you see the highlights are going over this color chart. And if the highlights are going over the color chart, it changes the color. It reduces the saturation. And as you see, the new Color Checker Photo is producing much less highlights than the older Spider Checker 48. And if you want to be, or if you're on location and you have not your light under control. So if you have your light under control, you can position the light as you want. But if you don't have your light under control, a more matte surface of the color charts is better. And let me unshare my camera and show you one example in Photoshop. Here you see several color charts which are shot on in the same moment, and you see here the Spider Checker Photo has a darker black than other color charts. The only color charts have a similar dark black are charts which have a glossy surface. But a glossy surface, it's fine if you have your light under control 100%. But if the light source is in an angle where it reflects to the camera, for example, if this is your chart and here's the camera and the light is coming from the same angle as the camera, as the light is reflecting, then you see the light source completely in the completely reflecting in the in the glossy surfaces. So if you have your light under control, you can take this one. But if you are on location, you don't have control about the sunlight and whatever, a matte surface which is very, very diffusing is always better in my opinion. So if you have your light under control, I always recommend to put it on an angle where it doesn't reflect to the camera. Then you have more contrast in your color chart, as you've seen when I have shown it into the camera. Okay. So we talked about recording it, and then we can go to MasterMatch. Here I have some images from an old session, but I will now load some new photos to show you how it works. We have, in general, we have 4 sections. One is your reference image. One is your image which you want to match, which you see here to match. And then there's a preview image where you can load any image where you see the preview of the same correction. So the correction is calculated between reference and to match. And on the preview, you see the same difference. And here, the LUT visualization, it's a LUT cube. For everyone who is not familiar with lookup tables, LUT means lookup table. It is, in theory, it can contain every color from 0 to 255 for R, G, and B. But in practice, we use this 17 steps or 32 steps. So we only take every 8th or every 17th color. And this is, R, G, and B are on 3 axes, and this is a cube sliced, so the depth is next to each other. So you see each color in the cube, and you see the difference. What is the LUT calculation making? So at the moment, it's this is the color difference which is calculated between the reference and the to-match image. The to-match image originally looked like this, and the color correction makes this. And this is also the same difference which you can see on the preview image and on the lookup table image. The lookup table image we will see a little bit later. If there are artifacts or problems, you will see it here in the lookup table. So let's start with a new one. So with a plus symbol, you can load a file or get an image from Photoshop. If you have Photoshop or working with Photoshop, you can press a button and the selected layer, or if no layer is selected, a merged copy of the complete image will be transferred to MasterMatch. In this case, I like to open a photo. We had a photo shot from a shoe in a photo machine. So I load it. And now everything, it's looking very curious and ugly. The reason is because our software MasterMatch calculates everything in real time. So if you see I'm moving this color grid, it's already changing, and it calculates the points to points which are somewhere here. Totally makes no sense. If it's disturbing, you can deactivate the color correction and position the 4 edges to the edge of the color chart. And now you see it's not looking correctly. The reason is we have here as a reference, we have this Spider Checker photo, but we want to have a Spider Checker 48. On the reference image, on the plus symbol, you can load an image, but we have also put some templates into our software. Here you see only the template Spider Checker photo neutral natural and Spider Checker photo neutral spectrometer. We have 2 different types of neutral ones. One is measured with a spectrometer, and the natural one, it has the same colors, the same color hues, but the brightness and the saturation, it's more adapted to an image which you take somewhere in a studio with some highlights. Because of the if you make measurements with a spectrometer, then there are almost no highlights measured, and it's looking sometimes it's looking a little bit artificial. I can also show you later how to work against that. It's looking artificial but having the same colors. But at the moment we have only 2 templates. So here is a next to load file. Here's a template list, and to bring more templates to the template list, you can either create own templates, so you can save whatever you do as a template, but we have a lot of templates in our software which you find under the settings. So so you don't have hundreds of templates behind the plus symbol. You can choose some from a list, and then you can add them to the list on the left side. So as we are working with the Spider 48 now, we want to go to the neutral ones, and I want to add the natural. And then I want to add the neutral spectrometer. If you want to work, adapt cameras to other cameras, or you want to have your camera look like a different camera, you can also go to choose from different profiles from different cameras. But the topic for today, it's neutralizing images for e-commerce, for array photography, to have exact neutral colors. Then you have to choose the neutral ones. Okay, it seems that nothing happens, but as soon as I select a profile here, it appears in the list. So now we have all the Spider Checkers which we are working today in this list. And as we have the Spider 48, I pick the natural profile here. So we have this color checker, going back to the image, and now turning on the conversion again. And what happened now? Oh, the problem was in the Qigong image which I loaded before, the model holds the camera 180 degrees holds the spider checker 180 degree to the camera, so I had to turn the grid. And modifying and creating the grid, there is a point behind set colors. It's called create modify. We will need it more often. Oh, why is the menu not closing? I don't know. Something happens which is not normal. Never had this before.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so we have an error to turn the color grid on the image. So I turn it 2 times 180 degree, and now everything is looking fine. So now the color grid, which we have put here as a saved colors as a reference template, are already adapted to this photo. And you can see by disabling the eye symbol, you can see the before and the after image. Maybe let's check again. This is the image I loaded, how it comes out of camera. And this is the color correction. So if you want to see how it looks like on a different image, let's load a file here and maybe going to the shoe folder again and say, let's load this one. So you see the same color correction is here on the shoe, which is calculated. Okay, how to achieve this or how to modify it? Let's go back to the normal section here. The master match on the right side, all the controls are divided into 2 sections. One is the log conversion and one is the target matching. The log conversion is almost always used if you are working with log video. So log video is very desaturated, very low contrast, so it sometimes makes sense to make it in 2 steps. You can do everything with the master match and the gray axis matching, but sometimes you want to have 2 different lookup tables for controlling or for correcting and have them separately. Then you can make first log conversion to bring the white point and the black point and the contrast and everything to a normal ratio, and then do the target matching and correct the colors to be neutral or the way you want them looking. But in this webinar, we are talking about neutralizing. We don't have log footage, so I collapse it so we don't see it anymore, and it's not disturbing. First is the LUT strength. LUT is a LUT is a lookup table. It's a color correction in the end. If it's too strong for you or from some artistic reasons or whatever, you think you have to reduce it a little bit, you can reduce it. So on the left is no correction, on the right is 100% correction. For today, we leave it at 100% correction. The LUT smoother we come later and show you, or maybe I can show you now. No, that's a good example. Here are some artifacts which are not 100% even. It can happen if, especially if the color charts have a lot of colors, like here, which are very similar. So, for example, this brown is very similar to this brown. This dark green is very similar to the dark blue. Some gray tones are similar. On the left side, some blue turquoise tones are similar to the blue turquoise on the right. And if they are very close together, depending where the light is coming from, which reflections of the room you see in the color chart, it can make some artifacts in the matching. And if you go to the, you won't see it in an image because it's very subtle. But if you want to have it perfect or smoothen it out, then you can go to the LUT visualization, and then you can increase the LUT smoother, and you see how they disappear. I hope it's good enough through the GoToWebinar transfer, if you can see it clearly. I reset it again, so you see if there are some spots here or in the turquoise area, you see here some spots, it's not very even. You can smooth it a little bit, so it's looking perfect again.
It's good to see.
back to our image which is to match. Here on the top right you have a navigator. You can press fit and it fits into the screen as same as one-to-one if you want to look in full size. As you recognize, some of these frames are dotted and some are a full line. The dotted ones are colors which are defined as neutral colors. So when I made these templates, or when you make your own templates in the set colors create modify, there are two different pipettes, one for the neutral colors and one for the colored colors. So, or the colorful colors. And for the neutral colors, it's important for the software to know what's neutral, because the algorithm to correct the image has several steps. The match gray axis, the harmonized saturation, and the master match algorithm. The master match algorithm is an algorithm which takes the before colors, which is to match, and then the reference colors, and make a calculation, doing the mass from the before to after color. And all the colors which are not defined, which means all the colors which are not in the color chart here, are interpolated. And that's very, very powerful algorithm for interpolating the colors. But sometimes it works even better, the interpolation, if we make a gray axis matching. So gray axis matching, it's like a white balance, but not only a white balance, it's a white balance over all these gray fields. It's a gray, it's a white balance on the dark ones, on the gray ones, and on the white ones. So to show you a little bit more about this gray axis matching, let's go here again. There are two more points. It's keep 0 and 255 and the multi-level white balance. If you're going to my graphic in Photoshop again, we are talking about the keep 0 255. So if we have, let's say we have in my example now we have 5 or 6 neutral colors, but let's say we have only 3. We have a dark one, a mid gray, and a bright gray one. So like a white balance would be a straight line only through one of these dots, where you pick with the pipette, with the eyedropper tool, the gray field. But if we have more than that, we are interpolating between these fields if they are not on a line. And if you don't have an exact 100% neutral white field in your color chart and not a 100% black one, then we can artificially in the software add ones, so it's calculated towards 0 and 255. What's the difference, or why do we have both options? The option with 0 to 55, so every color it's calculated towards the end of the spectrum. It's always helpful if you don't want that your highlights burn out or your blacks are clipped, then everything it's calculated towards the end. But if you maybe sometimes it's looking more natural if some highlights are clipping or very bright, especially if there are lights in the image, then it can look more natural if you leave the option out and the last values are calculated based on the brightest value we have in the image, and the lower values are calculated based on the darkest point we have defined in master match. But this calculation is only made with the fields which are defined with the dotted lines with the neutral eyedropper tool. Okay, so we talked about this, and now we talk about multi-level white balance. Normally in a reference card, these gray fields should be 100% ideally gray, but in some reference cards, they are not 100% ideally gray. Sometimes there are optical brightness in the color reference cards. Sometimes they are not exactly printed. I found some color reference cards where these fields are not 100% correctly white. or neutral, and then the algorithm can calculate them as they are neutral. So in this, if I deactivate and activate, you won't recognize the real difference because these are pretty neutral. And also, depending on the colors with the 255, it's not oftentimes it's not a big difference, and even the master match algorithm is working after the gray axis match. The harmonized saturation, it's an option almost, you use it almost also with log footage because it brings the level of saturation of the to match image to the reference image, and log footage is oftentimes very unsaturated. So yeah, the algorithm can increase its saturation automatically until it's matching to the reference image. Here it's not a big difference because it calculates the average saturation or the saturation of the saturated parts, and yeah, it's pretty much similar saturated, so nothing happens. And in the end, the master match algorithm is doing the color correction of the different fields. So if I zoom in a little bit, you can see there is a small line with a similar color to the color of the color card. And this color, which is a little bit different, it's the color from the reference card. So if I don't use a master match algorithm, you see how different the reference card is still after the gray axis match. If I even turn out the gray axis match, you see the line is more different because that's the original image, and the colored line, that's the reference card. That's the color of the reference card. And if I turn it on, you see what the gray axis match is doing, and then you see what the master match is doing. And after the master match, you see everything is completely to the reference card. Okay. Next one. Now we are, I already showed you the before after difference, so that's the color correction. I can also show you the difference about our natural and neutral spectrometer. So if I set all the fields and everything is aligned, I can simply choose the other template, and then you see that's the colors measured with a spectrometer. That's the real colors of the color card, and the more natural ones are also exact colors, but they are with some highlights calculated into the color. So I load this again because it's for me it's looking a little bit more natural, because everywhere in life you see highlights, so our eyes and our brain is used to see highlights, and for me it's looking a little bit more natural seeing also the highlights in a calibrated image. Well, so next step, now we made the color correction, what can we do with it? Of course, we can export it as a lookup table or as an ICC profile. And here at the top, you see we have some export options. We can save the log conversion LUT, which is the section which I collapsed. We can save only the color matching LUT, which is the section here, which I described to you. And we can save the combined LUT. The combined LUT in this case, it's the same like the color matching LUT, because it's not doing anything, the log conversion. So in the end, both are the same. The combined LUT is a LUT, if you make a log conversion and a target matching, then the combined LUT, it's both LUTs stacked after each other. So you see here a slight difference in the skin tones. That's coming, I'm sure it's coming from the LUT smoother. So if you increase the LUT smoother a little bit more, it's only a thing of a brightness. It's not a really different color, but as you increase the LUTs, I overdo it a little bit. As you increase the LUT smoother too much, you see there are slightly differences, because if it's smoothing, it's also considering some areas around the real color which is picked. And if you bring it back to 0, then these are the same. Okay, since maybe first apply a lookup table to Photoshop. Either I can export a color matching LUT and load it in Photoshop, but with Photoshop we have an integration, so we can just push the color match LUT to Photoshop, but I don't want to push it to my graphics. I loaded a shoe image from the same series, so yeah, same camera, same moment, same light, same everything, and I go to Master Match and say I want to send the color match LUT to Photoshop, and now it should be arrived. So here it is. It opens the color lookup table and puts the color correction into this color lookup table, and you see the correction in Photoshop. So now next we want to see this correction in Lightroom. For Lightroom we have to go one step more. So first we need a color match LUT. Let's save it as shoe correction. Save. And before we can load a lookup, we can't load a lookup table in Lightroom, but that's also not what we want. We want to load a profile because we want to correct the image in a profile and then work with presets and everything like we are used to. And before we are having it in a profile, we have to go to Adobe Photoshop again. Please take care that you don't have selected a mask. In this case, that's a color lookup table and the mask is selected. But if we go to the camera raw filter now, and the mask is black and white, it do some calculations in black and white. So you can have anything open, but be sure to have one color layer or a normal layer selected. And then you can go to Filter, Adobe Camera Raw Filter. It opened on my second screen, so I pull it up. Okay, that's the Adobe Camera Raw Filter. And now here, on the right side, the two circles, that's the symbol for all the presets you have. And like a preset, you could create a preset by this Create Preset button. But if you want to make a profile, you have to hold the Option key while pressing this icon. So I hold the Option key, press this icon, and then a dialog is going on, is opening. So let's name it Shoe Correction Lightroom. And here we can load the color lookup table. So it's the shoe correction cube file. Lightroom supports cube files. That's the reason why I exported a cube file. In MasterMatch, you can also export 3DL or ICC profiles. But here we exported the cube file because Lightroom needs a cube file, cube 32. That's the format, which means it has 32 samples, which is set here. And we set it to sRGB. That's also something which is important. MasterMatch, maybe let's quickly go back to MasterMatch. MasterMatch is always working or is always converting the to match image to the reference image. So if your reference, it converts the reference to the to match image. So if the to match image is sRGB, then the reference image is sRGB. If you load an image yourself in whatever Adobe RGB, you be sure to load an Adobe RGB as a reference and an Adobe RGB as a to match image. For our saved templates, all templates which we have in the settings menu, which are inside of MasterMatch, these are all automatically converted to the to match image. So if you're working with Adobe RGB, then our reference image will automatically internally convert it to Adobe RGB, and also the lookup table, the RGB values of a lookup of an image are different for the same color if the profile is different. So the same red for your eye has a different value in sRGB as it is in Adobe RGB. And that's the reason why it's important that first, you know which image you're loading, and on the other hand, you select this the color space the same that you used if you made the lookup table. So sRGB is fine since my images are in sRGB. So let's press OK, and I think that's it. We can cancel here again. The only thing is we have to restart Lightroom to load the profiles again. So if there are any questions in the chat, Boris, maybe you can tell me while I'm restarting Lightroom.
No, at the moment we are pretty fine. There are no questions to answer at this point, you say.
Okay, so if you have any questions, just type it in the chat, and then Boris will have a look from while to while, and sometimes I interrupt and ask if there are questions, and I'm happy to answer them. So back to Lightroom again. So you can, you find the color profiles under this icon here, and now we have this shoe correction Lightroom. You see it here. If I hover, you see the correction, and if I press it, the correction is applied to Lightroom. So can go back to master match and see the correction. Maybe I quickly restart master match to get rid of the drop-down menus which are not closing again. So back again, this is the same correction in Lightroom. If you make a profile or if you have the same conditions, for example, you have a product photography machine, you have any other product photography setup, or any studio environment where your light and background and reflectors are always the same setting, you can make one profile, import it to Lightroom, and then there is a possibility to choose this profile always when importing images, that the profile will apply it always when importing images. So going forth and back from master match to Lightroom to Adobe Photoshop, you don't need it for every single image. You make it one time. As long as you shoot your images or the series in the same conditions, then you can apply the same profile to all images. Okay, that's how we brought it to Lightroom. And next thing, this was an example I made as a JPEG image, and now let's maybe do the same workflow with an raw image. Thanks to Sascha Hüttenhain again for providing some nice images for these examples. We have this image here. It's completely neutral. I reset it with a shortcut Command-Shift-R to be sure it's neutral. But it is neutral. Nothing has changed. So let's export the image to my webinar folder, and now I can go to master match and open this image. So this is what I exported. And again, colors are looking pretty ugly. Everything is in real time, so maybe disable it quickly to not being disturbed by the real-time calculation. Only make it roughly, then we can zoom in a little bit. Now everything is looking wrong. First, we have the wrong color card, so we pick the color Spider Checker photo again, the natural version. And now we are going to create modify again, and we turn it until it fits. So we turn it 90 degrees. So these dotted squares are on the neutral colors, and you see it's fitting. The reason why I didn't put some reference fields on the other fields of the color card is that these colors are pretty similar, and most of the times the algorithm works better and more accurate if you have less points, if they are 99% or 98% similar, and you have all the reference points, sometimes it makes more artifacts than if you have less, because we have a white one here. Oh, here you see the mistake which Boris mentioned in the beginning. Don't touch the color fields. And even if you don't touch them really, on the one hand, you don't want to have your fingerprint on the color chart sooner or later. But also, at the moment, in the reference image, it's white, and in the to match image, it's not white. It's beige, like the fingernail. And if we have a look here, you see, depending how I switched out the color correction. Now I switched on, and as you see here, you see a lot of artifacts. That's because the beige of the finger is matched white, and as soon as the beige gets bright enough, it's getting white here. And how to avoid it? That's the topic of the series number 3 of the webinar. But for today we want to have a solution, so I quickly show you the solution. If you're under the create modify, we have a trash bin icon here where you can delete single points of a color chart. So you can just click the trash bin, delete it, and now you see problem is solved, everything looking fine again. I can let's load it again as the same one, so it's here again. Now I quickly recognized no problem, but here is another reason why you always should look into the LUT visualization. So if you look into the LUT visualization, you see here here you see some spots, and here you see also cross where it's where you see it's not a smooth transition. You see it's artifacts, and here you see also some bright dots. The LUT visualization always has to look smooth. So if you go to the LUT smoother, you can correct it, but it's not better. So you can, let's have a look here. Put the LUT smoother back. So the LUT smoother makes it more smooth, but it makes it not perfect. So it's still matching beige to white. It's the transitions are smoother, but it's not changing that the colors are wrong. So in the end, we go here and kill this point again. So what if you modified the chart here and you say, oh, well, let's try out the spectrometer version of the neutrals or whatever. If you work with camera matching and you have several camera profiles and you want to quickly switch between some of them, you don't want to switch and then you see the artifacts again and then you have to delete the point again. You want to switch between the images or between the profiles or the correction profiles with directly seeing the difference, and that's why there is a shortcut. You can also find the shortcuts in the information window. You see all shortcuts here, but I tell you one of the most important shortcut if you deleted points or if you modified the reference chart. You can go to the plus symbol again. You want to choose the spider checker photo, but before choosing, press the option key. So if you hold the option key and press it, you see this is the spectrometer neutral version. And if I want to switch back, I can go to the natural version. If I hold the option key, I can toggle without this, with keeping the changes. But if I forget to press the option key, let me quickly change with forgetting the option key. Boom, now all the normal reference colors which are from the template are here again. And I have to delete this point again. For the correction in Lightroom, I want to have the natural version, so this is my correction. Maybe I want to show you another thing. If you want to go with the neutral or with the spectrometer version, maybe I load this again, and it's look a little bit not so colorful, maybe a little bit lower in contrast, the brightness is different, and so on. So next to modifying the single points, by removing them, you can also modify the impact of the hue, the impact of the saturation, and the impact of the brightness of every single point. So if you go there and mark one point, you can change the saturation difference of this point. So if you put the saturation to the left, then it's the original saturation of the to match image. If it's at 100%, it's from the reference card. So if you want to bring back the original brightness and contrast, so all the brightness changes of all the different gray fields makes the contrast. So if you want to decrease or reduce the brightness change from the to match or the impact from the reference image, you can hit the command key or the control key on Windows while dragging a rectangle through all these points you want to mark. And this way I marked all points together, and now I reduce the brightness difference. So now I only, if I before after, you see it's only hue and saturation changes, but no brightness changes anymore. If I put the brightness 50% again, it changes the brightness half the way. If I put it to 100, with right click, you can go to the original position. If I put it back to 100%, now it's a brightness of the color chart, of the reference card. So yeah, for our Lightroom matching, we want to go with the natural one again, pressing the Option key, not bringing this color back. And yeah, if I load a new one, I can mark it and I see it's hue 100%, saturation 100, brightness 100. So all keys are resetted to the 100% position. So I leave it as it is because that's for me a good starting point in Lightroom. Maybe you ask yourself, why can I increase the saturation above 100% or the brightness above 100%? The reason you will see maybe in an other webinar series, next to the color chart modes, the software has also a 3-point mode where I can pick points to match, and yeah, in the reference image and in to match image. You can use any image if you don't have a reference card, pick points and match them, and all other colors are interpolated. And there's a pixel different mode where you have before and after images. So if you're going to whatever, to social media and some color graders show some before and after images, you can extract the look from them, and you can say, oh, I like the extracted look, but I like the color correction to be more saturated or a little bit brighter or darker, or maybe their look from the log makes the image too bright, and you reduce the brightness and increase the saturation. So you can play around with these corrections if you want to apply them only partly. Okay, that's it. Bringing this back to Lightroom, we're exporting the color matching LUT, and yeah, let's call it green dress LR for Lightroom. Save it, go back to Photoshop. It's not necessary that you're in the same image, just to have open any image, so you can open the Camera Raw filter. Go to the presets again, hold the Option key, creating a new preset. Let's call it green dress Lightroom. Load the color lookup table green dress. sRGB is fine since I exported it from Lightroom in sRGB. 32 samples, that's the LUT cube file size. We export the cube file, so 32 is also correct. Hit OK. Can cancel the Camera Raw again, have to restart Lightroom again, and then we can apply the profile. Any questions while I'm restarting Lightroom?
No, I have answered almost all questions in the meantime.
Okay.
There's one. What about Capture One?
Capture One is our next topic.
Okay, good, perfect. I was thinking about it. Great.
Yeah.
And we have to hurry a little bit. Already 9. Oh, but it's okay. Okay, so back to Lightroom, going to the profiles and see we have this green dress. And now
we applied the profile, and if we compare it to master match, it's exactly the same. Okay, I think enough Lightroom. People asked for Capture One, so let's go to Capture One. Here I have the same image in Capture One. As you see, it's a RAW file. It's CR3, which is a RAW format from Canon, and the normal profile. It's a generic EOS R5 profile since it's made with this camera. But Capture One uses the not the profile. This image is already corrected with a profile, but if you want to make a lookup table, we can't stack another profile onto a profile. That's why we have first choose a neutral one. So if we go to File System and say, I think these three are the same, let's say JPEG neutral file, then this is neutral, and then there are different curves which you can apply. If you want to have it neutral, like it's coming out of the camera, you can choose the linear curve, but it's also possible to use the standard curve. The important thing is that you use the same curve on a if you apply it on the ICC profile which we generate with master match, it should be the same curve which you use to export the image. So now we have a neutralized image. These are the colors where Capture One starts calculating. So let's, oh, sorry, I have Capture One set to German. Yeah, maybe I translate it. So it's file, export, and yeah, it's set to JPEG. It's sRGB. Everything is fine. I think I can export it. And now I again can go to master match and load the file. And I think it's with the _1. Yeah, that's the neutral one. That's the one from Lightroom. Funnily, you see different lens corrections are applied. Let's load it to master match. And as you see, the lens corrections changed, but the resulting image is not so different. It's a little bit here because the fields I have to correct a little bit because of the lens correction. The position is a little bit different. Can also look at 100%. So sometimes, since the preview is calculated a little bit quicker, it's not noise here on the right. If you go to 1:1, you see it's the structure of the dress, so no problem at all. Just want to say, if you think in the recordings that's some noise or so, it isn't. It's everything is good. The correction is looking good, and now we can export again. We want to have the color match LUT again, but now the difference. Let's call it again green dress, and now we don't want to save it as a cube, so you can open the file extension dialog or the file format dialog. So next to cube we have 3DL, ICC, and MGA. MCE, ICC is a profile. So let's save it as a profile. And now, so Capture One, I think it has to be restarted too, because it reads the profile from the operating system profile folder. So let's quit it. And then I open a Finder and go to the webinar folder. Then I exported the ICC profile. Yeah, it's called greendress.icc. That's what I just exported out of master match. And then I go to the profiles folder. On Mac, it is library color sync profiles. I think on Windows you can install it via right click. But yeah, Boris, do you know the folder path on Windows?
Yes, of course. It's Windows System 32 spool driver colors.
Yeah.
Windows.
These.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
continue.
These are the common folders for color profiles. That's standard, and if you place them there, then yeah, Capture One and yeah, will read the profiles from this location. So let's start Capture One again, and it reads the profiles, and now we can go to the ICC profile and sonstige, I think it means other or something in the English version.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you, yeah, green dress, that's our green dress. And that's the way how you work in Lightroom. So if you choose a different curve like linear, then it's, of course, it's wrong. But if you would have exported the image in linear, it would be correct.
One additional information for the profiles. On Mac, there is always a second profile folder in the user library. The user library is hidden because there are the profiles only used by this individual user. You see, that's just an addition.
Okay. Yeah, the user library, if you can, I think in English it's Go, and then you hit the Option key, and then you see here this library appearing and disappearing if you press the Option key, and then you come to the user library, and yeah, then the same path.
You're 100% right.
Okay. Another thing what we maybe should mention is that Lightroom works in a wide gamut color profile. So no matter if you are loading a RAW file or JPEG with Adobe RGB and sRGB or in wide gamut RGB, all color values are calculated in a wide gamut color space. And this means if you have a preset in Lightroom, let's go back to Lightroom again. So if you have if you make first your profiling and then you can apply a preset, and even if after the preset, a fashion preset, the colors are not 100% neutral because you want them this way, it makes sense to make a calibration before so your preset looks always the same. But for Capture One, you have to consider if you make a preset and makes a calibration and presets based on calibrated images, you have to consider that Capture One preset and all the controls in Capture One are doing the math based on the color profile in the image. So if you have a preset which is changing a certain red, then it has different effect on an sRGB as on an Adobe RGB. I think, yeah, it's good to know that. So sometimes if you're wondering, handling with different images and different color spaces, if there are differences, you know where they are coming from. Okay, we have talked about Lightroom, we have talked about Capture One, but if we are going back to product photography, today we are also talking about product video. So let's talk about video. That's why I have made the same clip with the Spider Checker 48 and the shoe. I not only shot photos, we also shot some video clip where we put the color card inside the machine, and then we remove the color card so we can make the color correction first based on this image, and then after we made the color correction, we can cut the clip, and so you have a nice video spin with a color corrected shoe. You see it from all angles without the color card. So either you take the effort to export a single frame, but maybe let's do the shortcut. So I can quickly make a screenshot of this image. Let's make a screenshot. Going back to master match, with master match, you can just go to the to match image and press Command V. So you quickly insert it from the clipboard. Now everything looking ugly again, same procedure, quickly putting it to the corners and loading the 48 natural profile, and turning it again. Now every position is fine. Now we can turn on the corrections again. So we see corrections looks the same like we did with the shoe in Photoshop. And now we can export it as a lookup table again. Let's say shoe video. And now we don't want an ICC profile since Premiere uses cube format or 3DL. Export it, going back to Premiere, and now the color corrections are called in an effect called Lumetri. Lumetri Farbe means Lumetri color. Sorry, having it in German again. It's under the effects. If you say Lumetri, oops, Lumetri. Did I make a typo? Lumetri Farbe. Lumetri Farbe, yeah. So you find it in the effects, Lumetri color in English. You can drag it, drop it to your clip, and then I can drag and drop another one so you see it, drag and drop. So you have two effects here. Now I delete one again. Nothing happened because I didn't change any settings. But here there is an input LUT and another color grading LUT later, but yeah, I always use the input LUT for the calibration. So search my hard drive, going to the shoe video cube file and having the video corrected. So now we can, I don't do it now, but in general, you can cut the clip and have a nice color corrected video clip with the same colors which you did with your shoe here in Photoshop. So photo and video are looking the same.
Perfect.
Any more questions?
No, as we are a little bit in overtime, a few already left, but they are satisfied. So all questions have been taken off, so have been answered. So yeah, there's another question to come, but we will do this afterwards. So I think you're done, so I can take over now again for a few minutes. So give me 1 second. Here we are. Okay, and you can see my screen now. And we had some people asking about, what about color management? Where do I learn it and so on? And what we have created from a perspective of photographers, but also taking care of videographers, we have a so-called Spyder ebook. It's available in English, German, and French. And it's 6 chapters about color management, capture calibration, monitor calibration, fine-tuning, monitors, printer profiling, soft-proofing. You can read it as a book, and you can, as it is a PDF, you can look up for reference as you can search it. There's a little link. You go on that link. You don't have to write it down. You will find this in the recording as well. And there's a little form you fill out, and then you get an email with the download link. Okay, that's one thing. Another is, where do you get additional information about the Datacolor products? And this is, you go to our website, and you have the support under contact and support our colleagues working on this at the moment. And then you will find this support site where you can just submit a ticket. You say, that's it. And this brings us to the end, and Robin has already mentioned at the beginning, we have with Picture Instruments, with Robin, we have created little nice promotions for you. First thing is about the Spyder Checker Photo. We have for the European and the UK market, we have a discount code, a rebate code you can enter in our web shop. Sorry, not for outside markets. And what is important to know, this gives you the product. And when you have the product and you activate the product, you will get a second discount code. This discount code is for MasterMatch, and this will allow you to save 149 euro or British pound 132. And so that's important to know. You have to purchase the product, our Spider Checker product first, one of the list, or a product where the Spider Checker is part of, and then you activate and you get the additional discount for Picture Instruments webshop for MasterMatch. And for those customers who say, okay, I don't need it, the webshop from Picture Instruments, we have a discount code from Robin. It's called Datacolor 99. That will give you a 99 euro off, which is around 85 British pound, depending on the current exchange rate. Robin, can you tell me if this, if your shop works worldwide, so this code can be used also from different countries? Could you confirm?
Yes, it can be used from every country. Yeah, our shop changes or calculates the prices depending on the currency you want to pay.
Okay. The reason why I asked this is because we had, in preparation of the webinars, we received a lot of emails from people from different time zones. So if you see this in the recording, hurry up. The voucher code is not there for every time. It will be terminating in a few weeks. Okay, that's what we can have here with our webinar today. And you see, I hurry up a little bit because I'd like to point out for the next webinars, a few people have asked things that will come in the next webinars. So register if you have not done already, and we will see each other in the next webinar. Therefore, it's now for me time to say thank you. That means what I will do, I will close the recording.